Like,
Hello and welcome to the Eurobox Group F with me. I'm joined today by my co-host from the main event, Andre Chalebi,
yo, what's up, guys?
and thankfully we're joined again by our up and coming. I don't know why I call it up and coming, but he's back on our show. We got Makash Clover.
I've been
Yeah, I'm
coming,
sure that
bro.
introduction would have been wonderful. What was it? Come on.
Bro, up and coming. What do you even mean by that?
I think he was going to say
Up and coming what,
successful
bro?
sports journalist. I think that fits it. Fits the equation.
Okay. Calm. Perhaps.
If any journalist companies out there or places would like to sign him up, he's on a contract. Get him
Yeah.
for free. I'll probably get cut out of the
I'm
video.
signed. I've
But
signed with Gear Box until July the 15th.
Yeah, let's go.
even after 1 day after the Euros, that's when he's leaving.
Yeah, Copa America night
But
shift. But this is Euros.
we might do the Copper box in a soon. But today we're going to be speaking about Group F. We got Czech Republic, Georgia, Portugal, and Turkey. Makar, would you like to speak a bit about the teams in the group?
Yeah, for sure. Interesting group, I think, underrated a little bit. Portugal, one of the favourites, at least squad-wise, going into the tournament. I think there's been a lot of expectations regarding them. Whether it's justified, I mean, our discussion will show. Turkey, you could expect anything from them. They can be unbelievable. They can be horrible, like Andre likes to say. It could be both. I'm sure Andre will agree with that. Czech Republic always performs at the Euros, always quite a tough team to play against. They were in the quarterfinals last time, of course, gave a good game to Denmark. So England played them 3 years ago as well. So we know what a team they could be. Last three tournaments, I think twice they've qualified from the group. Once they didn't. They were actually with Turkey in 2016 and they were close to going through, but then Turkey put up a good performance in the last game and stole that from Czech Republic. Neither teams went through in the end, but it was a good game. And then Georgia, no one knows anything about them, but they could be a dark horse. It's their first ever tournament. They've got a star player in a United squad, and it'll be interesting to see what they can show.
But we'll start off with Makar's team for the tournament. The team he believes will go far in the tournament. We'll start off with Portugal. They bring an A-star team. You could say a world-class team. Start off with the keepers, Roy Patricio. Butchered that name. That is not his name. You got Roy Patricio. You got Jose Sa, Diogo Costa. Then Diogo Costa, sorry. Then you got defenders. You got the 41-year-old oldest player in the tournament. If he plays tomorrow, Pepe. You got Danilo Pereira. You got João Cancelo. You got Nelson Semedo. You got Ruben Diaz. You got Diego Dallo. You got Nunes. You got Gonçalo inCio, and Antonio Silva. Then you move on to the midfields, and it's a stacked midfield. You got Bruno Fernandes, you got João Paulinho, you got Ruben Neves, you got Matheus Nunes, you got Vitinha, and you got João Neves. Now we're moving on to the forwards. And this is a very stacked forward set. You got Cristiano Ronaldo, you got Bernardo Silva, you got Diogo Jota, you got João Felix, you got Pedro Neto, you got Rafael Leao, you got Goncalo Ramos, and you got a new player. I'm not had much about him, but Chico Conceição, if I'm not wrong.
I'll
But
speak about him later, actually. Really impressive youngster. Conceição.
we'll let you start, Mikhail. What key points would you like to point out from that squad?
There's a few things I want to talk about. You say I expect them to go far in the tournament. There's a difference. I want them to go far because, well, first of all, I admire Ronaldo's talent. I think that's clear to everyone, and I always want him to do well. And I like the Portugal's team as a whole. It is one of the teams that I'm going to be rooting for. However, I actually don't think they will go as far as people predict. And unlike most people, I don't put them in top three, top four favourites of the tournament. I put them about fifth or sixth. Well, looking at the Dutch and how they performed in the first game, I think Portugal is probably has got a bit more chances, but teams like Spain, Germany, even England and France, who start today as well, I think have better chances. A few points about the squad. Number one weakness is centre back. Ruben Diaz is immense. He's an absolute crazy defender in a good way, of course. You can't go past him. He's in his peak form and he's playing for Manchester City. But next to him, there's no alternative options. People speak how Pepe is consistent at 41. Of course, he's brilliant. And for many teams in this tournament, he'd start. And I think every Arsenal fan saw the quality of Pepe in both legs in the Champions League this year. However, it is not quite championship winning Pepe that we saw in Euro 2016, the one that got man of the match in Euro 2016. Moving on to the next bit, though, is the midfield. It's a good starting lineup. I think it's going to be Vitinha, who's had an excellent season at PSG. It's going to be Bruno Fernandes, of course. And next to them, well, it could be anyone, to be honest. I probably think he'll be Palhinha from Fulham, and now linked with Bayern Munich. I would say that one important thing for Martinez to make sure goes in his favor in a way. Bruno Fernandes needs to have a role, and he needs to have his team built around him, because in the past, Bruno Fernandes wasn't used correctly. He had an awful tournament in Euro 2021. He was used more in the World Cup and therefore was Portugal's best player in that tournament. So he needs to have his team built around and maybe even bring that 10 role back. Now, attacking wise, it's interesting how Portugal will line up. I think it's going to be Ronaldo and Bernardo Silva. That's the obvious options. Who starts on the left? I expect it will be Leao, and then probably Cancelo and Nuno Mendes at the two fullback positions, but who knows?
And going into this tournament, Portugal have had a mixed bag of run of form going into this tournament. With, if we're looking at their last few games, as they go into the tournament post Euro qualification, they won 5-2 to Sweden, lost 2-0 to Slovenia, 4-2 win to Finland, 2-1 loss to Croatia, and a 3-0 win to Ireland. How do you feel that fares for them, not going to the best of forms into this tournament?
I mean, were these Euro qualifying games? Or
No,
were we
these were
talking about
friendlies.
friendlies? Wow, that's pretty shocking, to be honest. I don't know what to make of that, honestly. I don't think it'll be too important going into the. It's something to be concerned about, of course, for any team. But I mean, Portugal is in a relatively mediocre group, to be honest. They're not facing very tough teams compared to some other groups we've seen. So
No, yeah, to
go
add
ahead.
on to that, there's a few things. I think friendlies are not as significant. One more important factor, which kind of speaks a little bit against Portugal. People talk about their qualifying campaign and are quick to draw attention to how successful that was with 10 consecutive wins out of 10. Well, if you look at the teams Portugal has faced, it was mostly wins over Luxembourg, Liechtenstein, I think it was Bosnia, Iceland in that group. And the only strong team in that group, the one that actually qualified for the Euros and is not even considered one of the favourites, Slovakia, caused Portugal a lot of problems. It was a 1-0 away win, and I think it was a 3-2 win at home, which involved a Ronaldo penalty to win it or something like that. I may be wrong. It was a very tight game on a very bad surface. The weather was horrendous in that game as well, and Portugal struggled. And then in the friendly against Croatia, I know it's a friendly, but they struggled again. So I'm not so sure about Portugal. Squad-wise, they're good, but they don't have a second centre back, and we shouldn't underestimate the importance of that. And they actually don't have that much depth in the squad. You look at the midfield, it's Palhinha, Vitinha, and Bruno Fernandes. Yes, Bernardo Silva has experience playing in midfield as well. There's Ruben Neves from Al Hilal. There's a few other options, but realistically, it's always a drop in quality, regardless of who you bring on, compared to the starting three of Palhinha, Vitinha, and Bruno Fernandes. So I'm a bit worried. The group, the group, I agree with Andre. I don't think there's going to be any issues for Portugal. They should be getting past Turkey, Czech Republic, and Georgia pretty easily. But after that, if they finish first, they may have quite an easy run all the way up to the semi-final. However, will they be able to challenge the likes of Germany, Spain, England, and France? I'm not so sure.
We'll go on to England in another episode. I have a lot to say about that after this video was filmed after the England versus Serbia game, and I have a lot to speak about that match. That'll be in the next episode. But talking more about Portugal's games, Portugal's side, they've got a lot of key strong points. But if we look at past tournaments, the one thing they've got wrong with is towards the last stage of the tournament, something always goes wrong. Now, Macau, you might want to speak more. What is that thing that goes wrong in the last stages of the tournament?
For Portugal, I just don't think attacking wise is the way they're used to playing. They haven't played exciting attacking football since 2004 when they had a squad with Figo, young Ronaldo, Deco, and many others. It's not the way they play. It's not the way Portugal win tournaments. We know exactly how Portugal win tournaments. It's not the most appealing, not the most attractive style of international football, but it gets them the results. It won them the Euros and then won them the Nations League. None of that football was nice to watch. This squad is a more attacking one. It's quite top heavy. It's not as stacked at the back like it used to with Carvalho, with young or prime Pepe, if you can call him in that way. It's quite top heavy. And when you got a squad like that, you aim to utilize the potential you got up top, and eventually Portugal are quite oftenly rendered vulnerable at the back. So I think that's been the issue. That's where they struggle against Morocco. Morocco got their chances with Portugal making errors at the back. So that's, I think, being the key issue. And we'll see how they do this time. It's the strongest they've been since winning their international competitions. It will depend a lot on the key players, whether Bruno Fernandes turns up, whether Bernardo Silva replicates his Manchester City form for Portugal, and of course, whether Cristiano Ronaldo shows that his Saudi Arabian form is something he could bring to a bigger stage.
That's a good point. My key point always about Portugal has been you can't put it's like you can't unless the squad doesn't gel together, you can't just have loads of big names together. And that's what Portugal's always been to me. It's just loads of big players that don't have never gelled together properly. But now this might change because now you see there's more chemistry going on with that team as in the past it was just players playing. Yeah, so players playing for themselves basically. I get the ball, I'm going to shoot it straight away. I'm not going to play a little passing role, pass to you, pass to you. It was just whoever gets the ball, I'm going to shoot for whenever I get it. Do you agree with me, McCallum?
Yeah, I think so. With Portugal, yeah, that's the way they're going to play. And I think they could actually gel for once because these players have played with each other for long enough. The main squad of players that we've got currently with Portugal, they've played with each other for a while. And Martinez looks to be able to use their potential. One thing I would mention, people criticize Martinez a lot. They didn't think he's the man. And they say, oh, he basically failed to use the best generation of Belgian players in the right way. He failed to win any tournaments with them. I disagree. Belgium's team was actually not that good compared to the likes of France that year, compared to the likes of even England, Spain of 2018. That Belgium generation wasn't that good. It had Eden Hazard in his prime. It had Kevin De Bruyne. It had Lukaku. It had Thibaut Courtois. The backline wasn't amazing. The midfield wasn't amazing. There was no squad depth. They started Marouane Fellaini and
So
Axel Witsel when the likes of France had prime Kante and prime Pogba, who they lost to in the semi-finals of the World Cup. Well, I'm sorry, it doesn't match the caliber of big nations out there. So Martinez, in my opinion, did the best he could with this Belgium generation. It was a great generation. I won't argue at all, but it wasn't the best in Europe and it wasn't the best in the world. So I think a third place finish with them. And now he's given a better team with Portugal. This Portugal squad is better than what Belgium had throughout the years under Martinez. So you could say that, well, using his experience on the international stage, Martinez can now go and achieve great things with this Portuguese side. They have gelled together. They certainly have. We'll see what they deliver, but they're going to have to get off the block straight away against Czech Republic because they will be judged on their very first performance.
it was a bit of a hot take there, but in the end, Mikhail landed. I agree with what he was going with. It was, I mean, yeah, that Belgian team was quite strong, but at the end of the day, it wasn't good enough to beat France. That's all there is to it. If they had gone to the other semifinal leg, they could have gone to the finals for sure. But
They would have, I think.
Roberto Martinez did a good job with Belgium. I will say they did underperform in the Euros. He did quite a bad job at the Euros. Did they not lose to Wales?
No, that wasn't him. That was a different
That
coach.
wasn't him. Ah, okay. That's why he got fired.
Exactly.
Fair enough. No, Roberto Martinez is a very solid coach. I think this Portugal team's looking to play much better than they used to play under
Andrew,
Fernando Santos.
Can you cover it down? It's just your head. Okay, thank you.
All right, my bad.
We'll now move on to Turkey. Andre's nation. Turkey are bringing in a stacked squad, I could say.
Yeah, in goalkeeper we have Mert Gunok, Beşiktaş, Uyurcan Çakır from Trabzonspor, Altay Bayındır from Man United. In defense we have Mehmet Zeki Çelik from Roma, Merih Demiral at Al Ahly, which is shocking, not very good. Samet Akaydın at Panathinaikos, Ahmetcan Kaplan, Galatasaray defender, Mert Muldur, Fenerbahçe, and Ferdi Kadıoğlu, Fenerbahçe, Kaan Ayhan, he plays in midfield and defense, Galatasaray, Abdülkerim Bardakçı, Galatasaray. Then we move on to the midfield, which is arguably Turkey's most stacked part of the team. We have Hakan Çalhanoğlu, of course, at Inter Milan, one of the best midfielders in the world, arguably. We have Okay Yokuşlu at West Brom. Orkun Kokcu at Benfica. Arda Güler, of course, Real Madrid. Icon legend. Salih Özcan at Borussia Dortmund. And Ismail Yüksek at Fenerbahçe. And then the attack, we have Kerem Aktürkoğlu at Galatasaray. Cenk Tosun at Beşiktaş. Yusuf Yazıcı at Lille. İrfan Kahveci at Fenerbahçe. Kenan Yıldız at Juventus. Barış Alper Yılmaz at Galatasaray. Yunus Akgün, Leicester. Semih Kılıçsoy at Beşiktaş. And Berto Yıldırım at Rennes. I mean, yeah.
Now
that's the
you've
squad.
gone through. You've gone through the names. What do you think of that squad?
On paper, it looks good. These are big names, decent players, but the deeper you look, the more flawed you realize this squad actually is. I mean, defense, for example, Mehmet Zeki Çelik, he's not really been playing at Roma this year. He hasn't been getting a lot of minutes. He didn't have a great year. Mehdi Demirel's playing in Saudi. He was our most important defender. I mean, our forwards where Turkey's looking the weakest, honestly. We lost Enes Unal to an injury again, right before the Euros, so he's gonna miss the entire tournament. He's gonna be our most important striker, but now we have a bunch of unproven 18-year-olds playing who are probably gonna take up the position. And I'm not too convinced, man. I'm not too convinced. I'm pretty worried about this Turkish squad. They're not gonna. I'm not expecting a great showing from them, to be honest.
So you think that Turkey haven't brought the best squad across? I've got a few players who I think who didn't make the squad who I'm not happy about. Namely Ozan Tufan, who I'm a big fan of. Can you tell me more about Ozan Tufan? Why do you think he wasn't called up in the squad?
Honestly, when you look at this squad, I mean, he might have deserved it more than Okay Yokuşlu or something like that. They both play similar positions. They're both in the championship. I mean, Ozan Tufan's just highly unpopular in Turkey, so
I feel like
that could be the reason.
he's made his mark to get back into the squad. He's shown why he should get back in that squad.
It's just tough because I mean, the midfield is the one part of the team that Turkey is quite stacked in. It's a difficult position to make it in, the one he plays. Even if he made the squad, he definitely wouldn't be starting over Hakan Çalhanoğlu or Orkun Kokcu, who are both going to be playing pivots. So I mean, yeah, it's unfortunate time to be a midfielder in Turkey. Yeah.
I feel when I'm looking at this group, I feel Turkey could they feel like they could make it out because Czech Republic they're in decent form, but as we speak about them later, they're not bringing in the best of teams. Same with Georgia possibly, and it could be Turkey's chance to capitalize off that and go through the groups.
I mean, it should be. If there's any group we can make it out of in these past tournaments, it's absolutely this one. But I said the same thing about the Euro 2020 group. To be fair, it turned out to be quite a strong group. We had Italy, who won the tournament, and we had Switzerland, who were a very strong team. But we still lost. We got smoked by every team. We scored 1 goal in the tournament. We conceded 7. We were the quote-unquote dark horses, and then we turned out to be dead last in the entire Euros. So, I mean, if Turkey don't make it out, it's not going to be shocking to me at all. It's an interesting group too. I'm gonna waffle for a sec because what's it called? There's two countries now that have changed their names in this group. It's Turkey and Czechia. So we'll see the battle of the name change, I guess.
Mm.
Don't put that in the final video.
That won't be in the final video. But
I'm sorry.
Makar, what would you say about this Turkey squad and Turkey? How they're going into this tournament?
Got quality. It's got some sort of experience. I think there's players in the squad who have played 3, 4, some even could be 5 into. Oh, actually, Turkey didn't qualify for Euro 2012, but there could be players who were here back in 2008. I'm not sure about that.
No, no,
Um,
no. It's a completely new team from
yeah, I thought
2008.
so. So it's still a squad that have seen 3 international tournaments, and they'd want to make amends for what happened in 2016, 2021. I think they'll do well. I think they'll go through. They really impressed in qualifying, topping the group with Croatia and Wales. Uh,
That's
I
that's
think
the
they'll
problem.
do well.
Turkey, they always impress in these qualifiers. I remember in 2020 we beat France and tied with them in our
Yeah,
Euro qualifying group, and then we just collapse the second the tournament starts. So I never look to these qualifiers as a sign for how Turkey's gonna do in the actual tournament. It's just so we'll see. But my hopes are high.
Now, there's a player we have to mention. Absolute baller, plays for Real Madrid. Arda Güler. Andre
There's
would
gonna
like
be
to speak more about him.
a lot of focus on him. He's Real Madrid are definitely gonna be watching how he does at this tournament. He's gonna be playing right wing, I think, from what I'm hearing, for the national team. So I'm really looking forward to watching him play. He's a very special player. Turkey hasn't had a player of his quality in a long, long time. It's super impressive, and I have high hopes for him. But Hakan
it's
Çalhanoğlu has had problems for years. He's one of the best midfielders right now. And on Turkey, he's just not. He's a complete shell of his Inter Milan self. So we'll see.
I agree.
Go
I
ahead,
was
Mikhail.
going with Adigula. He's had a good season when he got the time, but with everyone coming in at Real Madrid, whether his game time will become even more limited next year. So this could be a chance for him to impress. When he came off the bench, he showed that he's good enough to play for Real Madrid. But when you're getting Mbappe in and everyone in that squad is remaining, I just don't see him getting into that lineup. And this tournament for him, well, everyone knows who he is by now, thanks to a move to Real Madrid and some of his performances. Good tournament here, and people will know him even better. Realistically, him, Çalhanoğlu, you mentioned they struggle for Turkey. They've got the quality to score past Georgia, though. Yes, Georgia will get onto them, but there's teams in this group who are fragile at the back, and I think Turkey could be able to capitalize on it.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely, and they should. But like I said, Turkey always on paper they always look much better than they actually turn out playing. So I always take everything with a grain of salt when I talk about this team.
Yeah.
Now, when we look at the squad, you got a few Galatasaray players. You got Kerem Aktürkoğlu. Is that right?
Aktürkoğlu, yeah,
Aktürkoğlu. You've got
baller.
Kaan Ayhan.
Kaan Ayhan, yeah,
And then you've lost Burak Yilmaz, but then you replaced him with Barış
with
Yilmaz.
yeah, Barış
So,
Alper Yılmaz.
so what do you think about these Galatasaray players that are coming into the squad?
I mean, I put them in my Euro fantasy team, which is probably gonna be a mistake in hindsight. But I always put Turkish players in my Euro fantasy teams, just support the country. I think
I've,
Aktürkoğlu is quite good. He's a very high quality player, honestly. I mean, I'm sure you guys saw him this year against Man United. He's he put up quite a performance against them, and he's been a very solid winger for the past years. Even for Turkey in the Euro qualifiers, he did quite good. Barış Alper Yılmaz, on the other hand, he's up and down. He's a bit inconsistent. He's probably going to be our starting striker, honestly, because we have no depth in striker at all. The other replacements are like, here, I'll tell you one sec, because one of them's 18-year-old Semih Kılıçsoy from Beşiktaş. He had a good year. He's 18 years old, up and coming, but he's not that good yet. And Berto Yildirim, who played like 5 minutes in France this year, so it's not looking promising. Bayish isn't anything special, and we're gonna need some creativity from players like Aktürkoğlu and Arda Güler to really get that striker position going. Get them those chances.
a player that could get a big move this window is Ferdi Kadioglu.
Ferdi Kadıoğlu, yeah, he had a great year at Fenerbahçe. Um, it's insane that Fenerbahçe got 99 points and still lost the league. Um, they have a special team going, and now with Jose Mourinho coming, Jose Mourinho is crazy, by the way. I can't believe he joined Fenerbahçe. That's awful.
We should talk
He's
about
gonna,
that for quickly. Some of the
yeah,
moves that are
sure.
looking to happen. I'm seeing this starting lineup that's been put out by
Oh boy,
but you've got uh this might be the end for Andre on our show today.
Yeah, it's 3:30. I gotta get going, unfortunately. I'm off to the city. Um, it was great being here. I'm down to do more episodes if you want me on again. But
If the listeners out viewers at home want Andre on for another episode, ask him. If you don't want him on another episode, say something
yeah,
as well.
let me know in the chat, guys. Uh, great seeing y'all, Mikhail. Good to see you, bro.
Good, bro.
Lenny,
Good luck tomorrow.
yeah, Turkey's gonna need a big opener.
Good start against Georgia. You're lucky with the draw.
We need a big match. We need a big performance, or it's gonna be another humiliation. Anyways, I'm
You'll be
off.
fine.
All right.
Peace, y'all.
Now it's just me and Makar back to the duo. So we'll speak about Georgia now, the team that Turkey are going to play. Georgia bringing in quite a decent squad, I would say. They've got the goalkeeper from Valencia. If you help me with some of these pronunciation of the names, so you got goalkeeper from Valencia. I'm going to try to pronounce it. Mama Dashvili.
Correct. Very good, Lenny.
Thank you.
Nice
Then we've
song.
got in the midfield. They've got Georgie Chakvedze from Watford.
Chikutadze.
Thank
Chikutadze.
you. And then we're talking about the strike. Sorry, not the strike, but the attackers. You've got two key standing out talents in the attacking. You've got Kavicha Kvaratskhelia and you've got George. If I might be pronouncing this wrong, but George Mika Mika Mika Tadze,
Yeah.
who plays for Mets. So when you're looking at the squad, who do you think stands out apart from you can mention the ones I've spoken about, or you can mention the ones that you think in your mind?
No, I don't want to spring too many surprises. It's actually, you mentioned four players. Realistically, it's just the two when you focus on Georgia that are going to carry the side. It'll depend a lot on Mamardashvili. He's been one of the most impressive goalkeepers in Europe even this year. If you, I know not everyone follows Valencia as closely as some of us do, but he's been impressive. He's been probably their best player this season. He's had some big performances and very consistent in between the sticks throughout La Liga and the Copa del Rey. And realistically, a good performance here could get him a big money move, even somewhere higher than what Valencia is, which is not bad going anyway, as it stands. Kvaratskhelia, we know what a talent he is. The Europe has seen him for Napoli, Serie A winner, and even in a struggling squad that finished 10th in Serie A this year, he was one of the bright sparks that continued to perform consistently. The only issue with him, it's been reported, him and his father, I think, or his agent, reported that they're leaving Napoli. And the fact they're talking about it now on the eve of the tournament, the first ever for their country, I think it's going to be an issue whether it'll get into his mind. He's shown that he's someone who can deliver regardless of the external circumstances and he doesn't get affected by them. We'll have to wait and see. I do think it's going to depend on these two. I'm not as hopeful for Georgia simply because it's their first ever tournament. And well, Iceland will tell you otherwise, but most countries don't perform as well on their first ever tournament. And to be honest, I'm not expecting that much from Georgia. I think the quality of the squads in their group will pull through, but they can pull an upset. They already went past very strong teams, the likes of Greece, in qualifiers. So they've showed that they're a team that has to be reckoned with. And they're not here to take part, they're here to win some games.
Now going into this tournament, Georgia, you could see they've prepared quite less compared to the other teams, as they've only played one. We won't say friendlies as they may decide for one of these tournaments, but going to this tournament for preparation, they've only played one game going into this tournament. So is that might affect them going into this tournament, going into arguably the biggest tournament of the country's career.
No, I'll not argue with it. It is the biggest one.
It's one game going into a tournament. It's not the best for them. Considering their hopes going to coming up against Portugal, Czech Republic, and Turkey, that playing one game isn't going to be that useful.
Potentially. Now, look, Lenny, it's always comes to the coaching staff. We don't know the ins and outs. We don't know how much the squad is ready, and obviously organizing friendlies is something up to the country's Federation of Football to go across. Maybe they haven't arranged anything. We don't know. What we do know is Georgia physically, I think, will be ready. And maybe one friendly is what was enough for the country to prepare for the tournament. There's players coming off the back of long seasons, and realistically, an extra friendly won't do you a world of good if there are other underlying issues. So maybe Georgia decided to choose a different path of preparation for the tournament. The first game will show how ready they are. I do expect them to play with high intensity because that's what they'll need to beat Turkey. If they sit back, the quality of the Turkish national team in the first game and later on Portugal as well will come through. So they need to be brave. We'll get on to discussing games. They need to be brave and they need to get the intensity levels going from there off.
We move on to the final team in the group, Czech Republic, and let's just say they're bringing in quite a decent squad, I'd say. Um, they've got former Man United goalkeeper Matej Kova. Then you got a defense of Kufal, a good Premier League defender from West Ham. Then you got midfield. You join his club mate Thomas Suchek. You've got, and then when we go up front, you got the standout players in the form of let me say his name right, Hosek from Bayer Leverkusen, as well as his teammate Patrick Schick from Bayer Leverkusen, who you remember from the last tournament scored an absolute wonder goal against Scotland. So, what talents would you say, especially Patrick Schick, who would you say stand out on this team?
I think Kufel and Souček are other players to watch. They've been here for a while. Souček, I believe, is captain as well of this Czech Republic team going into the tournament. Patrick Schick, yeah, he finished top scorer in Euro 2021, on level on goals with Ronaldo. I think Ronaldo had one assist in there as well, so he ended up getting the Golden Boot just over Patrick Schick. But it was a minor insignificant difference that decided that. 5 goals in the Czech Republic team was very impressive. You mentioned the goal against Scotland was an absolutely unbelievable strike. I think goal of the tournament, if I'm not mistaken. Kufal, Souček, Patrick Schick, 3 names to watch. But there's obviously a strong squad, many of who play in Germany as well, for the Czech Republic. There's Linger from Feyenoord as well in midfield, who obviously had a good season in Eredivisie. So it's a squad with experience. I mentioned a lot about other teams, but it makes an impact. With 3 games in the group stage, experience often plays even a bigger role than physical form and how ready the squad is, because it comes to small things in group stages. It really does. It's 3 minutes, 3 times 90, 270 minutes of football. That's all there is. And realistically, physically, it's not as demanding. It gets physically more demanding in the playoffs. In the group stage, you just have to be ready to get there. And I think Czech Republic will be. There's players who have been there in 2021 that they know the taste of the quarterfinal. So they'll be ready.
So now looking at them going into the tournament, they've been quite prepared going to tournament, playing against Norway, who unfortunately did not qualify in the tournament, going against Armenia, Malta, and North Macedonia, all coming off with wins. 2-1 to Norway, 2-1 to Armenia. 2-1, sorry, 2-1 against Norway, 2-1 against Armenia, 7-1 against Malta, and 2-1 against North Macedonia. But we'll now move on to Portugal versus Czech Republic, or Czechia, the first game of the tournament. Turkey versus Georgia. I thought that would go. I'm seeing a little bit of a Turkish switch up. I feel like Turkey could win this game. I might go for a 2-0 Turkey. And then with Portugal versus Czech Republic, I feel like it's a Portugal win. I see 3-0, 4-0 for Portugal. Maybe, like I said, I've said it before in the German score. I feel like those 2 games could go similar. I feel like it could be 4-1, 3-1 maybe, but Portugal will dominate this game, I believe. What would you say, Mikhail, for the 2 games?
I'd start with the Turkey-Georgia game. As much as Georgia's a country that I'm partially rooting for as well. I mean, they're neighbor the country where I come from, so I want them to do well. It's their first competition. I think it'll be a tricky start from them. I'm actually should I say? Yeah, I'm gonna agree with a 2-0. For Turkey, I don't see Georgia scoring in their opening game. They look more like someone who would find a goal against Czech Republic, which would become their first ever goal in international competitions. It usually happens around the second game when the team slides into the tournament, and it's going to be a big party, a big moment for the country. I don't think they'll score against Turkey. They'll come close on numerous occasions, but I think it's going to be 2-0 as well. I'm going to stick to that. I will disagree about Portugal. I think it'll be a closer game. Czech Republic is a tough side to play against. And I think they're going to cause all sorts of problems for Portugal. As you probably mentioned, as you probably noticed from some of my earlier analysis, I'm not as sure about Portugal's back line. I'm not as sure about how they're going to use their strengths up top. It's going to be tighter than people think. I'm going to go. I think it's going to somewhat replicate, somewhat mirror Portugal's opening game against Ghana in the 22 World Cup. I'm going to go. I'm not going to go 3-2. I'm going to go 2-1 instead, with Portugal going 2-0 up, Czech Republic pulling one back late on and coming close to even equalizing it at some point. I do think there's a Ronaldo goal in here, and hopefully he'll be able to prove haters wrong straight in the first half.
Thank you. Well, this has been the Eurobox. We've been speaking about Group F. Thank you for coming on, Mikal. We'll let you open a pack. Actually, let's save that for the next episode because we've got a guest waiting in. We'll save it for when he comes on. But thank you, Mikal, for joining us on this episode. Thank you, Andre, for joining us. We hope you get me both on for another episode. I've been Lenny. If you're watching on YouTube, make sure to like, subscribe, and if you're watching on the streaming platform, listening, make sure you give us a 5-star rating and drop a follow.